welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining our first Runa Insider webinar of this year. We're excited that you could join us today. We're going to be talking about optimizing cashback and loyalty programs, really to maximize value. This session is being recorded, just to let you know, and we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions, you should be able to see a Q&A box at the bottom. Please feel free to submit a question at any time. And we do have some time reserved at the end to get through some of those questions, as many as we can. We're really lucky today to be joined by two fantastic experts in this area. So we have Brendan Miller, who's the Chief Marketing Officer here at Runa, and we're joined by Jake McLean, who's the Head of Sales for Flues. So you'll hear a bit more about them shortly. In terms of the agenda, so first of all, we're going to run over some research that we've done and talk to you about the state of loyalty and cashback rewards, really diving into some data that we've seen, key consumer trends and their perspectives and preferences as well. We're then going to dive into key steps to really create true value for customers. What are they looking for, and how can you tap into consumer preferences in order to drive profitable behavior from them? And we'll finish up with some best practices, talking about how to build an ecosystem that really benefits all parties involved, so consumers, businesses, and merchants themselves. So we'll dive right into it. I'll hand you over to Brendan.
Thanks, Ellie. Great to be here. And Jake, great to be here with you. I think whether you're running a first-party loyalty program at a merchant or you're running third-party loyalty or rewards offers program, I think you'll get some insights out of today's session. We've got a lot of consumer data packed in here. And I think if there's a headline here, it's no surprise that cashback wins, and consumers are constantly looking for that instantaneous gratification of some type of reward, cashback at the point of transaction. And we've been tracking this space and this industry, this rewards industry, quite extensively over quite a bit of time here, and we've grouped a lot of different programs into different categories. And there's coupon finding sites and cashback sites, receipt scanning, price watch apps. And a lot of these programs monetize through direct relationships with merchants for the affiliate networks that they could be associated with, and as well as off of gift card rails. And then you've got another category of cashback and rewards programs that work off issuers. And these are very popular, of course, in the US because of the interchange, and they monetize through the issuers interchange program they have. And then finally, I think you have this other group of cashback rewards programs that are of course merchant specific. And there's a few companies here we'll talk a little bit more about that really rise to the top, and they are really bringing together a holistic branded payments strategy and program. And usually the infrastructure for that is some type of wallet that is coordinating the merchant's branded currency. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But I'm excited that we've got my friend here, Jake from Flues. Flues has got a great program. You may have heard about it, but Jake, I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit more about how you see Flues fitting into this ecosystem and some of the things that you guys do in the space.
Awesome. Thanks. It's great to be here. My pleasure. By means of introduction, for those who aren't familiar with Flues, Flues started about 4 years ago, almost 5. Core mission of the company is to provide cashback rewards to people who may otherwise not be able to access premium credit cards. And then to go beyond that, really give them better cashback rewards than what's available on a premium credit card. So regardless of credit worthiness, if you have a phone, you have a bank account, you can get cash back. And we have grown our member community to about 350,000. We've doubled our merchant funding year over year. It's really exciting to be part of the growth and fulfilling that mission. So as we saw in the prior slide, there's a number of ways that brands can connect consumers with rewards and cashback. And we really kind of fit into the cashback site or cashback app space. But what's really fun about Flues is that, Runa is really integral to the way Flues works, because today Flues works entirely on the consumer side off of gift card rails. So we're able to acquire gift cards at a discount from face value direct to brands, and then pass most of that discount on to our members in the form of instantaneous cashback. So we differentiate ourselves from like giants of the biz like Rakuten in that somebody gets their cash back right away. It's available immediately after their transaction. A user essentially goes into our app, puts in the amount they want to spend, hits go. We take that out of their bank account or charge their credit card for it, and then they scan our app. They're actually scanning a gift card for that store that was purchased brand new. It's not from a secondary market. It's not from somebody who got a Lululemon gift card from their grandma they don't want and they're reselling it. We know it's going to work, and they get their cash back just as soon as that transaction is processed. So we've been enjoying great success in partnership with Runa, seen a lot of growth and interest based in some of the trends and the amazing facts and data that the Runa team put together that we'll dig into here as we look forward.
Cool, thank you. So this cashback market is huge and it's growing. It's an $8 billion industry globally. We're tracking it here at Runa about 5,000 different cashback websites that are operating globally. There's about $200 billion of transaction processed through these cashback websites last year. And the major market, probably no surprise, is the APAC region. 40% of the world's cashback websites are based there. China is a major player. There's about $2 billion worth of cashback. We could call it a cashback market worth about $2 billion in China. But there is a very good growth clip here in the US, growing off a good sized base of sites and transaction volume, 14% increase in cashback transactions in 2023. So I think the question that we asked ourselves is why is this? Why are we having this growth? What are some of the factors in that? And so last year we dived into some research and we asked consumers, and we'll go through some of those data points and talk through that. And it's no surprise when it comes to loyalty programs and these cashback reward sites, consumers seek rewards and offers from the places that they frequent most and really spend the most money. And so we asked, this is data from Germany, the UK, and the US. Grocery stores are the top place that consumers look for rewards and cashback. And secondly, actually, though, very interesting was across the board was they're going to these cashback rewards apps and programs to find those rewards and incentives. And then third, you have, and this was fairly popular in the US, was restaurants and coffee shops, and then of course online and in-store retailers. So really interesting here that the cashback apps rose to the kind of the second category across all of these markets, Germany, US, and UK, Jake. But I guess thinking about the Flooz app and your guys' growth here in the US, where are you seeing growth within the app? Are there certain verticals, certain profiles of merchants that you're seeing more growth than others right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen that we're really over-indexing in, I would say, like convenience merchants, even post-COVID, as we're several years out now. People have built habits around delivery, ride share. And our core consumer at the very beginning, or kind of where we began, was a hyper value focused consumer that psychographically really enjoys hacking a deal or feeling as though they've kind of beat the system or gotten something special more so than value. And as we've expanded out from there, value conscious consumers, regardless of income, are super important. And part of it's by the nature of the way our app works. The easiest experience for us, and I think it informs how brands operate in terms of ease and customer experience, are things like what we call the USA merchants, or Uber, Starbucks, Amazon, because those are emblematic of brands who have recognized that their loyal consumers want to use their own captive app to pay for their transactions or to shop. And Flooz allows people very easily to pre-fund the wallets in those apps that are often interfaced with loyalty programs like Amazon Prime or Starbucks being able to get stars and free drinks. So the brand has given a consumer a good reason to use the app. And Flooz is a really seamless way that somebody can say, you know what, I know I'm going to use $250 of Uber, we run flash sales that we call parties that have a little mechanic where like the more members that buy it, the bigger the cashback rate goes. So we can do 10, 15% on Uber, load up your Uber, get $25 in cash back. A lot of this stuff has gotten expensive across all of these categories. Gas is a really interesting one. And I think the case study with us on Flues, we support a number of gas merchants, but they really overperform when they have a really good consumer app and a really good experience. And Chevron is consistently among our top merchants by virtue of their app that even goes into like Apple CarPlay. When you pull up to the gas station, you press the button, you pick your pump and you pump your gas and you leave. And as gas is moderated a little bit, but when it was really, really high, we moved a lot of gas. As that's kind of mid-pack here. 43% of Americans are looking at that. Less so, overseas where people may not drive their own vehicles as much. But we really see a lot of growth in the travel sector as well. Been very consistently up there because of the larger transactions. And that really appeals to people, again, across that value conscious spectrum. There are people with a lot of disposable income, with a lot of money to spend on travel. But when they see they can get 8% cash back on their cruise, why not? Why not just buy a gift card through the Flues app and use us to pay, when that can fund some of your ground transportation, some of the things you need to buy on that ship?
Yeah, it's interesting on the fuel piece of it. You're right that Americans spend as a percentage of their household income a lot more on fuel. And you were mentioning like Chevron, who's got this great payment experience and app experience. I guess, is there lessons learned there for other fueling brands that they could learn from Chevron to increase that and grow that loyalty and introduce their brand to new consumers?
Yeah, I almost go back to like my first job out of college was actually Toyota Motor Sales. And if you looked at the way the Lexus brand was run versus the Toyota brand, it's really about control over what is kind of a fragmented retail market, right? Like Chevron has done a really good job in making the point of sale retail experience really consistent, regardless if those are third-party owned stations. They look the same, they accept the same payment methods. As big brands, I think there's an increasing focus on customer experience and what those customer flows look like. But that to me is really emblematic of a brand that stayed laser focused on how their consumers actually experience a transaction. And it's given them the ability to have a really robust gift card program that is universally accepted across all points of sale. We have some other gasoline merchants that, you can load up your app, and then if that particular station doesn't participate in that payment program, you're unable to use it. And it's very frustrating to people who come in expecting, hey, I've got this portfolio of brands that Flues is giving me access to, and here's this brand right here, but I actually can't use it.
Yeah. There needs to be ubiquity across the brand.
Yeah, that it's really, they've gotten their systems are very tightly integrated. And, they've really taken a digital first approach in having an app that allows you to pay very easily at the pump.
Yeah. Great. Cool. We're going to move on. This is great. Just some other data points here that came out of that Runa study. 60% of consumers plan to use loyalty programs to offset rising costs. This research was done last year during the height of inflation, and so I think consumers are feeling the pain of inflation, rising interest rates. Keeping my fingers crossed that that's going to subside a little bit more in 2024. 79% of consumers look for deals in loyalty rewards programs before buying an item. So I just think reinforces that point that we just saw, that consumers are looking for these cashback apps and loyalty programs and put it as part of their consideration when purchasing. And then 82% of consumers prioritize special discounts or cashback when choosing where they'll shop. And so I think is one of the misconceptions here, Jake, is that these apps and these programs are for people only searching for a deal, consumers that are not loyal to brands or products at all, that they maybe younger only consumers, and therefore less affluent overall as well, because they're constantly looking for a deal. And I guess, how does that match up, or how do you guys think about sort of the different segments of consumers that are coming to you?
As we really approach the competitive framework or the landscape for cashback, really observe that the core user of the apps and kind of that top center bucket that we showed on a slide earlier were not necessarily lower income people. And for all of us in the cashback and reward space, we actually want consumers who have a little bit more spending power because, we make money off of transaction fees. And if they're not transacting very much, they're not really a desirable customer for us. And we've kind of taken the approach of how we merchandise our offerings. I can share, like, Amazon is by and large the leading merchant on our app. And that's then closely followed by things like Uber, Kroger brand stores. Target is consistently way up there, even more so than Walmart. And we can, use studies and draw some inferences around our core user, that kind of coupon deal hacker, is actually typically middle class to upper middle class, typically female in that they make a lot of household spending decisions. But, over the course of this kind of like inflationary period when people's budgets were really flush, they were saving a lot because of stimulus, minimal travel, couldn't spend money on anything in 2020, 2021. As people have kind of emerged from that, we see a ton of engagement in travel. Again, high ticket item. Other high ticket items, you look at the results of this study, right? And this is from Forbes, like it's a highly credible source. We use some things from Mintel that we paid for that break down the total population and, supports the conclusion the overwhelming majority of consumers are value conscious and actively look for discounts. But that propensity goes up when people are looking at higher ticket items. It's like people who will, order cleaning spray off of Amazon for $17 because it's easy, will go actually kind of negotiate for a car, or they'll do some research when, a % discount makes a big difference in nominal dollars terms. And we see that in our merchant rankings, that stores like Williams-Sonoma, Neiman Marcus, American Airlines, Delta Airlines really float to the top, partially just because the average order value is really high, but also because we do see a group of people who use our app more opportunistically. They're not on it 4 times a month like our average consumer would be. They are, maybe every month or two when they have a big purchase, are then kind of saying, okay, I'm going to go into Flues and see what I can do.
I think it's a matter, no matter what socioeconomic household income or however you want to split the data, consumers are always looking for value across the board. I think that's always one of the key takeaways, that they're always looking to get more for their money and be value oriented. So great. We're going to move on to, we got about 10 minutes left. We want to give some time for Q&A, but I thought it's the beginning of 2024, right? And everyone's thinking about putting their program, their plans together for hopefully they've already been doing that, but the programs and what they're going to do and their plans for 2024. And so the question we asked ourselves is, what do program managers need to do, whether you're running a merchant program or a rewards or incentive cashback program, third-party program in 2024? And so the first one here is really focusing on expanding the rewards catalog and network of merchant offerings. And we asked consumers about what would be a motivation to switch a loyalty program or a rewards program. And 40% of the participants said they would consider switching for a bigger or wider selection of rewards in that catalog. That could be more merchants or more gift cards. They also said that they would love gift cards or a network of local and small business merchants that I thought was interesting. But I think this just ties into the previous point that, Jake, that you made, that consumers of all stripes are attracted to these programs, and you need to cater to the needs of a very wide grouping of merchants. Secondly, enable more flexibility and ways to earn and burn for participants. So 55% of the program participants prefer rewards that can be redeemed when they choose. And this is, I can redeem when I want. I have flexibility. I think it means less restrictions on how I earn. But Jake, I guess when you think about this and I can redeem when I want, I guess, how do you interpret flexibility? I think that's what they're saying here.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like optionality is key here, that in some ways there's a reaction, the OG loyalty programs for people of like my generation, right? Like there was a time when the only loyalty programs out there were really for airlines. And it made sense in their business that you had some peaky demand and you had some excess capacity that really there was no opportunity cost to give away in points redemption. So, high perceived value, low cost to the business. But we've had a lot of consolidation in the airline space. There's really kind of four viable carriers, and consumers, it's somewhat anecdotal. I'd love to get some research commissioned on this, but in talking with our members, a number of people have said, I'm done with Amex because I'm paying $700 a year for this card and these points are worthless and I can't redeem them for anything. And they're more attracted to things that have a fixed dollar value, like through the partnerships. You get statement credits with Saks Fifth Avenue, you know exactly how much that is. And we made the deliberate choice at Flues to do things in cash denominations. But for programs that don't necessarily have that flexibility, that is where a robust catalog of gift card redemption experiences really comes into play, that you can give people something of concrete value or allow redemption of those points for cash. Something Built does really well. Offer walls where you can convert to gift cards, I think, are becoming more popular because they provide that optionality. So with that, in terms of a marketing tagline, something that really speaks to your core market, like another great brand came across in New York is Future Card, does cashback on sustainable merchants. That's kind of the subhead, and the major thing in New York is you get 5% cash back on the MTA or the subway. So, very clear value that really leads. Built's thing is like cash back on rent, and then from there, there's a lot of optionality and utility in kind of what you do, whether it's cash and you can spend it however you want to, like we do at Flues, or you then offer a consumer experience where people can really pick and choose anything from donations to transferring to friends to picking any merchant out of a vast catalog of redemption.
Yeah. I think it was a good point. You were mentioning just consumers having to figure this out, and you're putting a lot of cognitive load on the consumer to figure out what these points transfer into and how much does that mean, and just making it simple in terms that they already understand cash and money. They can apply those rewards in the right way. So I agree. Like, and the amount of programs that consumers belong to now, it's almost impossible for them to keep track of how they convert it in their head and all those kinds of things.
Like there's got to be one big headline that really speaks to that acquisition target for your brand. But then once they're in, you've got to minimize the perception of blackout dates, of a bait and switch with, accumulating a gazillion points that are really worth $5 when you actually go to use them.
Yeah. Well, final point here, I think to that, what we were just talking about is just like really keep it simple, right? For the participants, I think that all ties together. And this data point here is that consumers want simplicity, whether they're earning or redeeming. 55% said the most important feature was ease of earning rewards. They even said that more than the amount of discounts and rewards that are in the program. Just like make it easy. And then ease of redeeming. And I guess anything else to add to that, Jake, as far as just like things that Flues does to, like, I guess what we're just talking about, minimizing that cognitive load from a user experience perspective.
Right. I mean, I think we've even evolved in our years of operation to even things like fewer numbers. We can't allow scams or arbitrage because we have incentives for people to come into the app, and we give them cash when they're new, or free app with referral incentives. So, like we require people to earn $15 in cash back to be able to spend that money off our platform, move it to their bank. But even little things like $15 shows up a lot in our app in terms of purchase minimums for a given transaction, just because, again, we're on gift card rails. You can't really buy a gift card for like $1.28 to buy a Diet Coke. So even just keeping numbers consistent, like our redemption experience is really, really simple. I think the lighter green thought bubble there is like the ease of redeeming is almost as important as the ease of earning. Like people want to know they're getting something out of this. And we're an app that constrains our user experience to some extent, that we can't have this like vast redemption portal with all of these options, but we make it really linear, really simple. Do you want your rewards in your bank? Do you want to get another gift card with them? Do you want to donate them to charity? Simple option set.
Yeah. Yep. Well, great. I think that wraps things up here. I've got a couple questions coming in, so we'll take about 3-4 minutes here to answer some questions and then wrap it up. I guess the first question, with inflation, I guess I made this point about subsiding, hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed there. I guess, do we anticipate changes in consumer behavior of how, I guess, adoption usage of these types of programs with inflation hopefully subsiding? I guess, do you have any thoughts there, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, short of deflation, we're going to have to really watch the macro environment. I think as the data we've shared supports, the loyalty and reward space has really grown and scaled with uncertainty in consumers' minds through the pandemic, and then the meteoric increase in prices due to supply chain constraints that, people of all income backgrounds kind of, their eyes perk up and every time they go to the grocery store, and, everybody's feeling the strain, short of the rate cuts they're talking about coming, short of deflation, we're going to experience a gap in real income and relative prices to that. So I would anticipate that continuing until, real incomes across the board catch up. But there's really also the element of habit building and, kind of muscle memory when people are going in to shop, and the ability that most of these things are app-based. They have the ability to kind of grab people's attention and funnel them to them. If you think of a lot of these brands use browser extensions or have the ability to send push notifications, they're going to hold people's attention. Our calculus is that we'll continue to see engagement and loyalty and rewards, and the people that win in this space are going to be, almost paradoxically simple, yet offer the most optionality for their members.
Yeah, we'll go one more question here. I think it's always interesting. What impact do you think Web3 will have on loyalty programs, rewards programs? I know there's been some news, merchants participating in Web3 type things. I don't think they've been tremendously successful, but I think that a lot of consumers are just not quite there yet. But I don't know, Jake, you get a different take on that?
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who lived in Miami for professional reasons during the pandemic, I wasn't just one of the Californians that said, I'm moving to Miami for the heck of it. I think there can be communities and segments that maybe over-index the importance of Web3 to a typical American consumer. And the adoption of that type of technology is just not there yet. We have had, again, we're on gift card rails. There are Bitcoin gift cards that people can buy and redeem. We've tended in the kind of the fintech world not to get too aggressively into that at this point. I think we're going to have some regulatory clarity, some more comfort with our banking partners and managing third-party risk. And, candidly, going back to like predictability, part of the reason Bitcoin's popular is because the price changes a lot, right? And you can make a lot of money speculating on those price changes. But for it to be really utilitarian to a typical consumer as a fiat currency it's got to have some kind of predictable value, right? Like, people want to know what they're getting. And we just aren't there yet, in my estimation. I'm sure others have different perspectives on that. And if your consumer acquisition target really does engage with that, fantastic. It's maybe more front of mind for us. Again, going back to upper middle class, suburban females engaged in cashback programs, that is not something that really fits with Fluse's business in a big way.
I think that's the key point. It's just got to fit with your demographic, your segment, and the consumers that you're going after. Well, I think that wraps it up. Ellie, I think you had a few announcements and anything else that we need to be aware of to wrap this up.
Yes, thanks, Brendan, and thanks everyone for joining. Really interesting discussion. If you do have any follow-up questions, get in touch. We'll be more than happy to answer them ourselves or connect you with Jake if needed. Just a few reminders, please do stay up to date. We'll be sending out this deck and some resources afterwards, but we have a network and feature changelog, so you can check out all the new merchants that we're adding to the Runa network. And if you're not currently working with us, but you'd like to as well, we'll follow up with ways to get in touch. But Brendan and Jake, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been really interesting and looking forward to the next one.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Always great working with your team. You guys are phenomenal. We appreciate it. And hope everybody has a great rest of the week.